ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my Winter Wonderland. Now, we're going to cover the big one today. The big one, which is feeding your animals. Yeah, this was a big issue in beta and has continued over into being a bit of an issue in live. Now, I will say this, going to get this out of the way, because it was one of the recommendations that I believe Piers, the lead guy for the whole game, said in his live stream just before the game went live, which was do the tutorials. The tutorials will teach you, first 3 tutorials will teach you everything you need to know about the game. Now, we are on our winter map, and we've built this little enclosure, and there's nothing in it just yet. We have round the back, we have all of our various staff buildings that we need. Now, I will be entirely honest and up front, we are playing on sandbox mode. It's just for me to get this out of the way quickly and I can fast forward and not worry about money or anything like that to give you a better example. So, we got 2 timber wolves and they are currently sat in our trade center. Now, something that we didn't get in beta, and I know we're looking at food on this, but I will say, you need to put your animals in quarantine before you put them into your actual zoo. Because all of those lovely, infectious, horrible diseases are now live. They can actually affect your animals, and that is a big issue. So, what we need to do is we need to go into our trade center, where our 2 lovely little timber wolves are, and we need to just click move, and you'll see it lights up where you can go. So, that's the trade center. We've got the quarantine building, and then we've got the habitat. Now, we don't want to put them in habitat. We want to put them into our quarantine building. So, we just click on it, boom, and it moves it, and then we need to move the other one. Now, this, I will say this because I'm recording over this. I'm recording over the gameplay after the fact. I didn't plan this at all. It turns out one of my wolves actually did have a disease. So it's quite handy that I did this. Perfect, for example, for the video. I couldn't have planned it any better. Now, what we're going to do is we just leave that. And it doesn't take that long. Now, I will caveat that by saying, as we are on Sandbox, we already have all of our research done into the various illnesses. So it doesn't take that long to actually check whether the animal's got a problem, but if the animal does, then you will have to research it and things like that. So just be aware that Sandbox is taking effect a little bit here. So we're going to transition. Our animals are now all been cleared from quarantine, and we're going to put them into their new enclosure. There we got our lovely 2 timber wolves. As I said in my animal video, I have a soft spot for the timber wolves. One, they look amazing in this habitat. But also, when we did beta, the last animal that I had was a little baby timber wolf that was born. And, it melted me. It's literally the last moment, very last moment of the beta. And I did manage to get some screenshots. But, so, we're going to quickly just create their little habitat for them. Nothing fancy at all. Timber wolves actually don't need a lot. They are super easy. If you want a good starting animal, they're a little bit more expensive, obviously, than the cheaper, the warthogs and so on and so forth, but they literally need nothing in their habitat. I know it looks a little bit boring, a little bit dull, but if you're on franchise mode, they are just really good because they don't need a lot of funky stuff. You just put them in, and then they need a hard shell, they need some enrichment. Anyway, it's a little side thing. So, we're going to whiz through, put enrichments and things like that down, and then we'll focus on actually the issue of how they're being fed, why they're potentially not being fed, so on and so forth. Now we're going to super fast forward through all this. You can see we're putting down some food enrichment. Food enrichment is the key and the biggest reason why you will see the food trays that you put down, which we're going to put down in the corner, being empty. Because, like all zoos, what you primarily want is you want your animals interacting with things. You want to stave off boredom. So rather than just having a tray of food, the primary thing that they're going to focus on is going and looking at. So for instance, you see a little zebra, they're going to go and attack that zebra, and that zebra's going to have food in it. A little food pinata, or they're going to hang meat off of the hook at the other end, and they're going to go and try and eat that. They're not. What you don't want them to do is to just eat a tray of food, because it's boring. So enrichment is the key, and enrichment is where primarily they're actually going to get all of their food from. That tray is a very much last resort. You need to remember that. Don't worry about looking down there and thinking, the tray's empty. Oh god, I'm really worried. You'll see throughout this, my food tray never gets filled once, and my animals are almost 100% on their food. Now, we're going to quickly transition onto some of my Bob Ross PowerPoint art. It's not good. Here we go. So, there's your little keeper. They're going to go into the enclosure. Both animals are fine. So, we're going to leave the trays empty. We don't mind. All the animals are satisfied. That's fine. Next example. Keeper goes into the enclosure. Ooh, one of the animals isn't happy. The primary thing they are going to do is to fill is to fill the enrichment way before they even bother to look at the tray. They're going to fill the enrichment, the animal's then going to eat it, and once the animals are happy, that's it, they're going to move on. You're going to see that's what's happening in my live game footage. Here's an example where the food tray would be filled when there's nothing else, there's no enrichment. Right at the beginning of the game, they're going to go in and they're going to fill up that tray. And they're only going to do it if the animals actually need it. And this goes for whether it be enrichment or not. Food goes off, it will rot. So that's why they don't fill it up. You will see sometimes, you'll see in this game footage, that they actually fill up a piñata and then he goes and empties the food because the animals aren't eating it. Finally, as if you've just got too many animals, and even if they fill the enrichment, it's still not going to satisfy all the needs. If you guys remember from beta, you had the turtles that just kept breeding. That's when they're going to fill the tray up when the enrichment just isn't cutting it. Now finally, you may be thinking, well, I don't have a lot of animals, I'm all good, I've worked everything out, but yet still I've got a nice efficient zoo, still my animals aren't being fed. The last reason may be this. You've created a super efficient zoo, you've got all your staff buildings in the middle, you've got all your enclosures around the outside, but it's taking your guy, your little zookeeper, an age to go to each of the enclosures, each of the habitats. You've got to remember they need to rest in the middle. Plus, you may also have your zookeeper doing everything. So they may be checking the food, they may be cleaning the poop, doing all these things. You can untick them, so they literally adjust. This guy's focused on food, this one's focused on poo picking, so that makes them just slightly more efficient. Also, one thing to look for is the staff buildings do have the option of perks or buffs. So you can have that they regain their energy faster. It's worth looking at if you're trying to maximize the efficiency of your staff without spending too much money. Finally, and the best way to sort out your staff efficiency, and also if you want to really target a certain area, so you've got, say, 2 animals, or you've got, like we showed before, you've got a lot of enclosures, work orders. Now, very much do the tutorials. I can't say that enough. Do tutorials, they cover work orders and exactly how to do it. But here you go, I'm just creating a simple work order for all my buildings, and I'm just going to assign all my staff. It's the simplest way you can do a staff order. But let's say I then had another habitat on the side. What I can say is, look, I want Zookeeper 1 to focus on my Timberwolves and to use all of those staff facilities, and I want my Zookeeper number 2 to focus on whatever our new habitat and our new animals are, but still use the same buildings, which you can do. So therefore, I know that I'm still using all those staff facilities and I'm getting the maximum amount of use out of them. But I've got one zookeeper that is going to focus on just my Timberwolves and one zookeeper that's focusing on my another animal. That's not super efficient. Don't particularly want to do that. So, whew, here we go. Oh, dear, I tell you what, the animation has taken it out of me. My Bob Ross-esque poor PowerPoint presentations just taken it out of me. So here you go. You're going to see that our animals are... We haven't had that tray filled once. The tray is actually in the bottom right-hand corner, which you'll see every now and again. There you go. It's actually in the snow, but it is just below the meat on a hook thing. So you're going to see... Okay, that, by the way, that is Planet Zoo Discord going absolutely crazy. People posting up pictures and that. It's awesome, some of the stuff I've seen today. People have gone mad crazy creative. So you're going to see... It's the piñata and it's the meat hook that is doing all of the work at the moment. And our zookeeper, you may see at the very top, is coming in, looking at the animals, checking to see whether they have a need for food. And if they don't, just walking out again. Don't need to worry about it. Okay, now my zookeeper is picked to have everything. So he will go and collect poop, will go and do the feed, will do everything. Okay, but just simply walk in. I keep saying he because my zookeeper's a he, but I just don't have a female one drop down. I mean, generally, zookeeper. So zookeeper will just go in, check. Oh, something's needed, something's required. Down they go, and they will look at whether it's be their water, be their food. Now, I use the infinite water source one. But you'll see, look, the food tray still hasn't been touched. They still have not filled that tray in. We've got a zebra and a meat hook. And that's it. Now, I'm going to fast forward because you guys don't need to see me keep panning around. Because you can see the animals are well taken care of. They're well satisfied. Food tray hasn't been used once yet. All good. So let's go and fast forward to it. So you may notice that little bit of a time jump. That we actually have a third member of our Timberwolf family. And that is we had a baby. I wasn't meaning to have a baby. Didn't switch the contraception on. But they've had a baby. Woo! So this is actually a good opportunity. Because we are in Sandbox. They're getting the premium grade A best food, which means my 2 main wolves are basically never hungry, which is really annoying. Their hunger will slowly move because they're getting the good stuff. They're just not that hungry. But my little baby, oh, it's so cute. It's slowly getting hungry. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to see how the keeper is going to deal with that. And quite simply, just going to walk in. It's going to see that the little baby requires some food, and rather than fill up the tray, it's actually going to go and put food on the enrichment item. So you're going to see here, whoomp, there's some meat on the hook. And going over to the left now, go on, little guy, off you go. Grim, by the way, just a quick one, it does help if you press play. So because Grim's an idiot, we're going to phase cut. We're going to phase into the next bit. Just as you can see, my zookeeper now, he's filling up the pinata. Has not still touched that little tray that sat on the floor for food. More interested in the ritual stuff. So we've got the meat hook, and one of our wolves is busy tucking into that. But we now have had the pinata filled up. The good stuff. And our little baby is interested. It's going to have a little go at this. I couldn't resist. I know this is dragging the video way over 10 minutes, but I couldn't resist seeing this little one. And its mum just attack the zebra and get the food out, and you can see it eat, and that's it. So the tray hasn't been filled up once. My zookeeper's been coming in and out, just looking to check on the food, make sure everything's okay, and then filling it up as it's needed. Focus on enrichment, focus on that as the key. That is the main thing. The tray, you can almost delete the tray unless you're gonna have a lot of animals in a particular exhibit. Like we talked about the turtles earlier, don't worry about it. It's all about the enrichment and focusing on that, because that, and upgrading your food with research, playing on franchise, because that's going to keep them full of bellies for longer. So you're going to have to worry less about the feeding and get on with building and getting more animals. Have a great one, everybody. Catch you later. I hope that helped.